Hey there, Jill and Emily here, and we have sort of an interesting discussion today for all of you. We want to start in with a question. Have you ever been online in a group and someone leads in to their post with this question? Oh, well, not really a question, a statement.
Mhm.
Please remove if not allowed. Have you ever seen anyone lead in with a post like that? Definitely let us know if you have. We are discussing some of the concerns we have with that statement
Mhm.
in a very honest and respectful way.
Yeah.
And we're going to get into the unspoken rules of online interaction. Social
Yes.
media is somewhat new, can we say,
Right.
in the grand scheme of things. And there are definitely some guidelines for keeping a respectful tone and keeping the conversation flowing in groups. So we're just going to talk a little bit about that today with all of you, give you some tips.
And we love this because both Emily and I, being in these online communities, we do realize that there's no guidebook, right? Nobody tells you, hey, we're actually, our community presence in like life, right, is a little bit different than our community presence online. We
Yeah.
sometimes do things that online that we wouldn't do in person. And it's because online has created this kind of like this new playground for us to be all coming together. And there are actually some unspoken rules that are happening, but you might not have thought about them. So we wanted to do this in that way where we're all helping each other out. And this is something that, again, we see happen a lot. And I'll even tell you how I have done it myself. So we are not throwing anybody under the bus here, right? So
Right.
first,
No.
we're going to start with tips. So when we think about these unspoken rules, here are some
Mhm.
tips to keep you like on the good side, right? And so,
Yeah.
yeah, so what's that first thing that we might do, Emily, to
All
try
right.
and steer our ship in the most respectful way possible?
Well, being that Jill and we both run groups, these are some really great tips that you'll want to keep in mind. And the first one is always take time, especially when you're new to a group. Um, but whether you're new or not, check the admin rules. So the admins always set aside a set of rules and or guidelines so that the purpose of the group is clearly stated. So you want to check what's allowed, what's not allowed.
Right.
Keep in mind that admin can update those rules from time to time,
Right.
and they will make you aware of it. They'll make all of the members aware of that when they do so. You just want to make sure that you know, hmm, is there a specific day that I can post or share offers
Right.
or something about my business? Or is this just more of an organic conversation that just goes back and forth with other members?
Right.
So that's the first
Yes.
one.
And you guys, Emily, Emily has a very intentional group that she has created. She has actually several groups that she's created, and she does great with listing her rules and her expectations and how things go. Not all groups will have that though, you guys, and that's okay. I even went and looked and went, hey, we, could really update the rules in one of our private groups, right? But also we are so involved in that private group because it's a
Right.
private community, it's not public. We have some like posts and things like that. But if you check the rules and you don't see it there, then the next step to do is ask the admin. Just reach out to the admin and ask if it's okay.
Ask.
Yes. And I know that whenever I do that, the admins always say, thank you so much for asking. And I know that we feel that way too in our private, like in TSA groups. I really appreciate when somebody reaches out personally and says, I have this thing I'm going to be doing. Would it be okay to share this in the group? 9 times out of 10, we say yes, like totally fine, but we appreciate that they asked before they just put that offer in the group. And so it's just, again, another way to be respectful of the person who created the group and is actively monitoring the group, right?
Yes. And instead of the post now and apologize later
Right.
thing, it shows that you have actually taken the time to reach out, to understand the rules, and you're respectful of how the group is run instead of haphazardly saying, please remove if not allowed.
Right.
Take the time first, and it will pay off.
Yes, it will. You'll get a great reputation for being another business owner who is respectful of business owners. And so, especially online, when a lot of us have online communities, we do a lot of our like business and our connections and our relationship building online. It really helps to be known for having that integrity to make those decisions.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and when we go into some of the reasons why it is respectful to check in with an admin first, and Jill can relay a personal story of hers, but all groups have a specific purpose. They were created for a reason. And sometimes groups, if they aren't sticking with that purpose, can unfortunately just become totally overrun by spam.
Right.
Just offers all the time.
Right.
And it can really spiral downward. So being very mindful of that is, of course, being respectful.
Right. And so that's really wonderful. So we have to remember that nobody starts a group just for fun, right? Like you start a group because you have a reason why you want to build this community, right? And so you have your purpose behind it. And when suddenly it becomes like a pitch fest, or even just when the direction of the group starts going kind of away from what its original purpose was, you might end up having group members that you might have worked really hard to build up a group over years, and people are leaving. And it's not because of you, it's because of maybe too many offer posts, group posts that kind of don't go with the purpose of that group, right? And so we have to remember that the person that started that group, they had a reason for it. And so that's why they might have the rules that they have or the intentions that they have. And so I'm just going to share really quickly, because we don't want you to think, if you're doing any of these things, that we're throwing you under the bus. All of us have to learn these things, and the rules kind of change sometimes, right? So it's about being aware. So personally, when I was originally starting to share about my tutoring services online, what I did was I would make a post, and then I would tag all the people that I thought might share that post for me, right? But I didn't ask them ahead of time, was this okay? So here's the thing. I was absolutely trying to be in integrity, right? I was not running out there going, if I do this. But a friend kindly reached out to me privately in Messenger and said, hey, I just saw that post. I wanted to kind of let you know, because she was much more well-versed in online etiquette kind of than I was. I was just starting off. She had been doing blogs, and she was like connected to everything, right? And so my friend had said, it's kind of considered a little bit rude and spammy to tag people in your post. And here's why. Because when you tag somebody in like a post that's promoting something, it shows up on their page whether they want it to be there or not. It's a way of kind of like showing up in their spaces before they've said, oh yes, I want to share your service, because maybe they don't want to, right? And so by tagging them and not asking them first, hey, is it okay to tag you? I was kind of sharing in their personal space without getting permission, right? I was showing up at their party with my business cards and my business t-shirt, and they might not have necessarily wanted to share about my services, but I was making it where it wasn't even an option for them. And I hadn't even thought of it that way. I went, oh, I was just trying to make sure they saw it. And so I switched to making a post on my private page, but sending a private message to those people and saying, I have this post, and if you think you might want to share it, here's the link. I put the power in their hands as opposed to making the decision for them. And that was one of those things that got me to start thinking about my online etiquette in a way that wasn't just, well, what are my intentions? It was, okay, great, but like, what are also the effects? Am I really honoring and respecting other people in the way that I am conducting myself online? So I wanted to share that with you, because we are not throwing anybody under the bus here. We're all learning together, and we just wanted to share some of these things with you. So why is it important to be respectful online? So when we're talking about checking the rules, asking admin, why does that matter if you're meaning to do good things, right? I think everybody watching here is all trying to do good things. So why is it important to be respectful in these online interactions, right? And so Emily already mentioned the first one, right? That if we're in groups, it can be really easy for groups to become overrun with spam. Offers.
Mm-hmm.
And that can cause people to leave the group, which is okay, but not if the group owner wasn't intending for this to be a service swap, share your service type of group, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So Emily, I think, definitely would run into that with her group because she has so many wonderful educators in her group that are doing great things, right? And so I think, especially an educator group can quickly get overrun.
It can.
With offers. Right.
And let's face it, whether you've been an admin or not, I'm just going to put this out there. Mm-hmm. Running a group is work. It is hard work. It takes nurturing. It takes time. It is for some groups, there is a lot more interaction than others. We know that. It's reviewing as we let members in. There's a lot of different nuances to running a group. Mm-hmm. And above all, maintaining a specific culture of the group. So my group personally, I try my best to maintain a culture where there is conversation flowing around Orton Gillingham and dyslexia. Mm-hmm. And anything really outside of those topics, according to my guidelines, is not really part of what the group's purpose is. People are there to ask questions, a lot of questions. We get a lot of people looking for advice. And the beauty of the group is there are so many members who've been doing OG a long, long time that can give that advice. People are also sharing maybe a tip that worked for them.
Right.
Things like that. So it just helps to keep things, as I've said this before, organic when you set up those guidelines. But really keep in mind that it is a lot of work to run a group.
Right. And so when you are if you can take the time to ask permission first, and that frees up that owner to not take the time to have to look for posts and ask people, send them messages, please take that post down, or I'm removing it, but here's why. We love what you're doing. You're saying that you value the time of the group owner as well by not making them go through that work because you're already asking ahead of time. And sometimes I've been in the situation where there are no rules against it, and I've reached out to the admin and never got an answer. At that point, you might just look at the general overall vibe of the group and decide, does it seem like it's okay or not? So if you've tried to reach out, then that's okay. We're really just talking about, though, not putting it on the group admins and moderators to do all that extra work that they're doing for free, right? Instead, you saying, hey, I want to make sure that I'm being respectful and not giving you more work to do on top of what you're already doing to make this great community. And that kind of brings us back to a third point that I think sometimes we kind of forget. And that is that by following some of these rules of the unspoken rules of online interaction, right, you're respecting that group owner, the person who started it, who built up that community, who has put in time and hours and effort creating this community. That might also be an outreach of their business. Sometimes you start communities just for the sake of having communities. You guys, I'm in a plant community and the owners aren't trying to sell their plants. They wanted a place to come and talk about caretaking your plants and not killing them, right? So I know that I could go on there and say, hey, does anybody know where I can get this, or I'm selling this plant, do you have it? And it's totally cool, right? But when you think about a lot of these types of circles that we are in, for some of them, it is an outreach of their business. And so they're building that community, but also they are building a community of people in their ecosystem of business where they also might be selling their own services or own products. things like that. So you're being respectful to that group owner, because if I'm running a business, right, and I spend hours every week cultivating this wonderful supportive community, and then other people kind of come in and they show up on the first day, they're just sharing their offers and things like that. It's kind of like you're using somebody else's work to promote your business, right?
Yeah.
And so it's a matter of respect by just saying, is it okay to do this? Because again, sometimes we might have something that we're offering, like in a TSA group, that nobody else knows about yet, right? So if we know that's coming up and somebody else just posts something that might be like a service that's very similar to what we're going to be offering, right? Like our group is for us to like build our little world, like our little corner of this online universe. And we often let people share what they're doing. We just ask, please run it by us, because there might be a reason why it's not the right time to share that offer. So it's just a matter of respecting the group owner. So,
and especially if you're one of these people that has some exciting new content, maybe you've been working really hard on writing new blog posts, or you have this specific niche where you just absolutely love creating tutorial videos on something that you know is really, really going to help teachers. That is amazing. Video is absolutely needed. People love it. And new content to help teachers is always, always useful. But when you first have those things ready to go and ready to share, it's very exciting. However, we want to keep, as Jill was mentioning, to keep the respectful culture of one particular group in that admin. We want to be sure that it aligns with the group guidelines so that we're not completely posting everything having to do with the content that you have that might be separate from whatever those group guidelines are. And if you feel like you have so much content to share and have maybe a different vision for a group, then that might be an amazing opportunity to begin your own group. And that is great too.
Oh my goodness, Emily, they're both members of lots of different groups.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of overlap in what they do. And that's what's wonderful, is that like we can all kind of like create our own little like playgrounds, like, right? Yeah. We can all have these places where we get together and we can go from one to another, and it works beautifully. And you might find that that's your next step, actually, is that you want to share so much. Let's like create your own place to do that. That's wonderful. And then even you could also ask the owner of that group, hey, would you want to get together and do something with me? Like, let's come together and, do a training or share resources. I mean, there's so many opportunities in the world of like online outreach and businesses and connection. We just wanted to bring some of these ideas to you today, because sometimes we do things without thinking about them, and we might not actually realize that there are some unspoken rules, that are kind of like dictating things like and so we just want to be respectful, and we wanted to share this with you because this actually comes up quite a lot, but we haven't really heard of people talking about it. So
I agree. So we hope the unspoken rules of online interaction, particularly in groups, has given you some good food for thought. We want to hear from you. If you have any questions at all, any concerns, or maybe looking for advice, we will absolutely do our best to answer anything that you'd like to discuss on this topic.
Yes, definitely. Okay, we'll see you guys online. Bye.
Bye.